Everyone, my name is Melody Hossaini. I'm the founder and CEO of Inspire Engage International, a social enterprise supporting people to develop their skills to be able to be successful by giving back. In support of the government's First Jobs campaign, which I'm thrilled to support, this is my first job story. So, my first job, which is always scary. It's like, where do you start? You know, what do you gain from having a first job? How do you go about securing your first job? I'm always hearing from young people on my social media channels saying that it's a catch-22 because in order to get their first job, they need experience, and in order to get experience, they need to get a job. So what do? So here is my first job story on my experience and how I found it and how I secured my first job. So firstly, I didn't grow up in this country either, so English was my third language, and I moved here in year 7, so when I was 13 years old. So, you know, you could say that I was a little bit disadvantaged perhaps than people who had grown up in this country, but that certainly wasn't my mindset. And as soon as I turned the age where I could go out and get a job, I really wanted to work and earn my own money and do something with my time as well. So I remember sitting down and firstly thinking about, you know, what I wanted to do, what I'm good at. So obviously I wasn't going to go and get a first job whilst I was at school 15, 16 years old doing what I do now as a career perhaps, but I was already doing what I was doing as a career voluntarily. But in terms of a paid job, I just wanted to do something that I was good at. I was good at speaking to people. I was good at dealing with people, being around social settings and, you know, working and using my skills. So I thought, oh, I definitely want to work in some kind of retail and being around people and things like that. And those are usually kind of the perhaps, you know, easier jobs to get as well when you're that age. So I sat down, I looked at my CV, put together, using a template, put together, you know, my own little statement at the top, made it sound as impressive as possible in terms of, you know, who I was and what I was good at and what I wanted to do, and then listed my educational achievements, my extracurricular activities, which I was fortunate to have lots of extracurricular activities because I volunteered a lot, did a lot in the community, you know, lots of things that I thought would help me in my application even for a part-time job. So that's put that together, printed lots of copies of my CV and took it with me in a backpack on a Saturday into town and went from shop to shop introducing myself to the employers and giving them my CV. Now that's a tactic which people used to do a lot quite a few years ago, but that people don't do anymore. However, speaking to employers, they actually tell us, why do people not do that? Why don't they come in and introduce themselves and say a few words about themselves and give us their CV? Because you quickly develop a rapport with that person and you can log their CV and come back to it and you remember them as well, rather than just emailing it to someone. So that might be a good idea for those of you looking for a job to try. Anyway, so I was unsuccessful with the first few jobs that I applied for, and I went around. I remember going to New Look and different shops on the high street and giving them my CV. I didn't hear anything back, but you know, and you don't always hear anything back straight away. You may not get your results straight away, but you gotta be persistent and you've got to look at other options and keep going. And so I heard that there was a temp position available stacking shelves in the chilled section of Sainsbury's, which was my local supermarket. And I thought, yeah, maybe that's my way in, is to get a temp job, prove myself, and then keep the job. And that's exactly what I did. So my first job then became working in the chilled section, stacking the shelves, products like yogurts, milk, you know, things like that, like 9-hour shifts, you know, stacking, you know, the shelves. And started as Christmas temp, which is the busiest period obviously ever. That's why they get the temps in, to increase their, you know, staff members in a busy period. But that makes it a really hard time for you to start working somewhere, because you end up doing so much and it's so hectic, and usually they're not as available to train you. But that's the time that you get your in sometimes, you know, your opportunity to get in. And I was taken as a temp, and I heard that they were going to keep some of the temps who performed well. So I remember working as hard as possible, proving myself and developing a good relationship with the team. And they kept me, and it became a more permanent part-time job. It wasn't easy though. I mean, you know, work is work. You have to work hard. And it was, you know, sometimes it annoys me when people think that it's just a part-time work. It's not what I was going to do in future. So who cares? You know, I'll show up late, or I won't pull my weight or whatever. But I think that the most important thing about getting your first job or part-time work is that you develop your work habits, your work ethic. And that's really the most important thing that you can gain from having a job, is you develop these kind of experiences for the future. You don't just wake up one day and bam, I'm ready for my career. You know, you have to develop these attitudes towards work at an early age. So it's very important that you do pull your weight, that you do become part of the team, that you develop those essential skills early on, no matter what you do, whether you're a waitress, whether you're, you know, whatever it is that you do, stacking shelves like me perhaps. And so it wasn't easy, and my hands are tiny, so the gloves that they provide for you to stack the shelves in the chilled section were too big for me, and I couldn't do it properly. So I would always do it without the gloves, which meant that I would always come home with frostbites, and you know, just was awful. Like, I had cracked skin on my fingers, and just 9 hours of, you know, in the chill, you know, it's hard work. And it was obviously Christmas, it was freezing outside, and I didn't drive yet, so I used to walk to work, and it was 40 minutes there, 40 minutes back in the freezing cold after a 9-hour shift. And when I left, my manager got me some flowers and chocolates and things, and said that, you know, I think you're going to do really well in life, and, you know, you've worked really hard and things. And I think that that's really important, to develop that at whatever you do. So that was my first part-time job at school, while I was at school, and earning my own money. And that was such a great feeling for the first time, you know, earning my own money and being able to buy what I wanted with the money that I had earned, and knowing the value of, like, I worked out that for every hour of me stacking these shelves, this is how much I've earned. So I really valued every single pound that I earned, because I'd worked so hard for it. And I think that that's another really important realization and, you know, valuable thing that you can gain from getting your first job. My first proper job, if you will, was at university. While I was studying, I went and applied to be a project manager for a Sport England project, helping to get women into sports who perhaps had cultural barriers. So I thought, oh God, should I apply? I mean, I would never get this because I haven't got any experience. I'm like a, you know, university student, haven't even started uni yet, you know, but I went for it. And again, relying on my extracurricular activities and skills that I gained, and transferable skills, I was able to secure that job, and it fit around my studies as well. So I think that that's really my story. I would say that really think about what you want to do, what you're good at. You've got to be persistent. Be proactive, get out there, give your CV out, talk to people. If a friend of yours has a job that, you know, you would like to have, they work, get them to introduce you, get them to, you know, give your CV to the employer, go in and meet with them, and get yourself out there and keep trying, and, you know, and build. And that's really the best way to progress in a career in any job, is to start and build and you know, and keep going, and that will produce the results. So that's my story, and that's the first job campaign. There are lots of other videos that I've done on application form tips. If you're filling out your application form, you want to avoid mistakes, common mistakes, I go through all of them and give you lots of tips on application forms and your cover letter. I've also done a video on all my interview technique tips. what to do in an interview, what not to do, how do you go in, how do you introduce yourself, how to be as successful as possible in an interview and sell yourself, and also done one on my top 10 tips for those applying for their first job. So check out those videos and blogs as well. They're on melodyhossaini.com, and there'll be links around this as well. So wish you all the best, and good luck with whatever you're going to do. Take care. Bye.